Hello guys, welcome back to Path Nostalgia. We're going back to the 1970s again. Bagpuss. Another instant favourite of mine from the 70s, actually. In terms of 70s shows, I think of this show, of course. Interestingly, let's not beat around the bush. Let's talk about what Bagpuss actually is. So this Bagpuss is basically an old fat cat, pink and white striped cat that lives in a toy shop. Whose owner, Emily, I think the family own, really, and during the time when just he's left alone in the store, all things come to life. You get a bookcase owl or bird, really. What do you call it? Like a very sort of genius bird, old-fashioned professor on a bookstand come to life. You've got multiple mice and a doll as well. Quite a few other characters as well, but those ones sort of are memorable ones to really think of. And they basically just talk about like various items that come across in the store. Really, the one that sticks out to me is the ship and the bottle one. When they just basically find about it, and just basically think what a curiosity thing that is, and everything else. It's pretty interesting. Yeah, and it's sort of like, again, sort of being inquisitive, and also you have the mice doing like, we will fix it, we will wash it, that type of thing. That's sort of a weird like little chant thing that they do throughout the stories. And yeah, interestingly, pretty good. I remember watching Bagpuss back in the days of repeat television, of course, with the likes of Danger Mouse, Rhubarb, Mr. Ben, these sort of things really. So it's another show I fondly remember watching. Again, part of that Twilight Zone bit really of all the late night television, or supposedly pre-war show television, whatever. You talk about like 8 or maybe between 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. really, and that sort of thing. You have like weird obscure shows like from the 70s, some of the 80s, and some well-known ones as well at the time. I've always liked it, actually. I always liked the look of Bagpuss. Really interesting, really good. Very design-wise, it's just like bold. It's very standout, of course. If you think of like a striped cat, you just think of Bagpuss, really. For the British, really, they think of Bagpuss. It's great about Oliver Postgate and his work. His collaborator was with Peter Furman as well for small films. I'm going to try and think rightly again. They did Knock on the Nog, which I covered very early on in Path Nostalgia, very early on. So the initial run. They did Clangers, which, to be fair, it's not one of my favourite shows of all time. That show never really clicked with me, even though I've seen maybe a couple of repeats on television around the same time as Bagpuss. Really, that show never really clicked with me, unfortunately. I like the designs of the Clangers, of course, and also it's stop motion, yes. But I think it's down to like how the stories go and how Postgate uses a whistle, of course, and it's like that's quite distracting, really, and it sort of puts me off a little bit. Actually, it really did actually. And to be fair, I never really sort of covered. I've only covered it just very briefly on Cassette Confessions, but I think just here now, it's just like, it's not one of my favourite shows, I sort of think it's funny in terms of the design, of course, but off the actual show, from actual stories and actual viewing experience of it, unfortunately. Whereas with Bagpuss, that's sort of the other way around, really. I fondly remember it. They only did 13 episodes of it at that point, and yeah, it was just there, really. Again, it's sort of, Bagpuss sort of appears up in like pop culture now. Again, it's good pop culture icon, very much. Did appear in the 2009 Chinese single as well, Animated All-Star Band, which is again pretty good, nice little beat. I think like a miniature model of himself, really. Yeah, but nicely realised. Nice. He's again sort of another well-known character, sort of accepted, really. Of course, getting recognition as well. The only other thing I can tell about Bagpuss is that I've got the soundtrack on vinyl. This is actually a very funny experience. I never talked about this one on First Time of Anything or anything, but I can tell it on here actually because it's related. HMV, this has gone back a couple of years. It's about 2019, 18, I think. I just went in really, and you know, was looking for the racks, of course. In the middle of HMV, they do have sort of the record rack really, where you just look all the new pressings that have come out really, your reissues, the new stuff as well. And I just looked and just come across the Bagpuss soundtrack, you know. So a mixture of songs, the opening theme, songs, everything else like little ditties and everything else. It's like included on there. And I thought, what was it? That's the most obscurest record I've ever seen in the store whatsoever. You know, there probably be some obscure records within the collection, but I was actually quite surprised, very surprised actually. And you know, it's like, okay. I went back and forth on it. I think I could probably buy that actually, probably get that, and so I did actually. You know, because I want, you know, again, my LP collection's very sort of sparse in terms of styles and everything else. So including this one, it'd be no problem really. You know, it'd probably stick like a sore thumb, yes, but it'd be the most interesting thing ever. It's the only sort of well, yeah, actually, it's the only sort of actually no, not really. It's really sort of like TV stuff TV, like in terms of children's TV, it's the only stuff I own on vinyl, apart from a single, which is John Perry singing the Wurzel Gummidge theme, or Wurzel's song, whatever. That's the only thing in terms of children's TV I've got really. So a Wurzel Gummidge single and Bagpuss soundtrack really. Again, pretty nice album, very detailed, very sort of nice textured sleeve, of course. Very nicely done, actually. So it was pretty interesting to get that, actually. I think it'll be still around somewhere. Depends where you can find it, actually. If HMV still sell it, or it's a limited run. It's like sort of exclusive. I'm not entirely sure. You can listen on Spotify as well. I've noticed, which I've included in my one of LP playlist. You know, whenever I collect LPs, I always put a song from that album on there. So I do the same with Bagpuss. I think it's Little King, actually. Something like Little King, I think. The King of Bobbin. I don't know, actually. Poppin' Mare or something it's called. Excuse the title. So yeah, interestingly. That's what I can say about with Bagpuss, really. I mean, it's a nice little show that I've seen many years ago back in doing the late, you know, last sort of pre-wash late evenings very much. So it's following member from that period, you know. And actually coming back to it with the soundtrack and everything else, it's like, you know, yeah. I mean, still great character, of course. Great voice work by Poske himself. Really good stuff, you know. Also, he did Eye of the Engine, which I've seen briefly on repeats as well, but I can't really say much about it because I don't really know much about it. So if I do remember briefly, I know it's 2D animation, of course, you know, in terms of the style-wise. I've been similar to Nog and the Nog, really. You know, with the whole pishtikov, you know, noise, really. But I don't know. I never clicked me as well, actually, unfortunately, even though it's interesting. It's more bear than clangers. But, again, never clicked with me. So, Bagpuss is probably the superior one of the post-skate, you know, what do you call filmography, really. And, yeah, rightly so, I think. I do remember fondly really enjoying this at the time. Probably still do at some point. If I could probably revisit it, I think it's still good than ever. See what you think. Thank you guys for watching. As always, see you for the next video, and goodbye.